Hello. Hello, everyone. For me, it's a real honor to be here because Nordic Testing Days was the first testing conference I ever spoke at. So that was in 2019, and then COVID hit and everything. So it's really cool to be back and talk about old tools, new tricks. We have a little problem with the clicker. We tried other ones, but somehow this room just doesn't make it work. So I have to be a little closer here. I'm Benjamin, like I said. I'm a test automation engineer at Trivago in Germany. I've been in IT for around 24 years now. Yeah, I'm old. 15 years as a 100% developer, and then I moved towards software development in test. And I am a clean code and code craftsmanship ambassador by heart. I really passionate around those topics. So maybe this is also why this topic came up. I also wrote a book. You can directly forget about this because it doesn't have to have anything to do with this topic, but if you're interested, then buy it. If you're not interested, buy it, throw it away. A little disclaimer here. It can be a kind of controversial topic that I'm talking about, and these are my very personal views. If you disagree, that's fine. I actually want you to disagree with me, and we can talk about this in the breaks. And this is less about how, it's more about the why you should consider old tools. I will not show you a bunch of new things you can do with the old tools. I will touch on that a little bit, but it will be more about the why. And I'm not against AI solutions at all. I use them daily, but I have my doubts. I was one of them who raised the hand during the keynote with the skeptics. So yeah, I'm skeptical. But why did this actually came up? The preface, the purpose of this presentation. As developers and QA engineers and testers, we are just faced with tons of technology every time. This list here was actually generated by AI, so I don't know if all the technologies actually exist. I didn't check, but it's just a snapshot of what's flying at us daily. So it's really important to know what is worth dealing with, and more importantly, what's not worth dealing with, what can we just throw away from the start. So let's check the developer's brain. And I told you I was a 15-year full-time developer, so I think I'm kind of qualified to do that. We as developers have this new is always better dilemma, because developers love new things. Of course, new things are exciting, and learning new things is absolutely crucial for our jobs. Because learning new tools can expand our arsenal of tools that we have on our belt, and also just spark creativity, give us new ideas of how to solve something. Whereas old tools oftentimes have this aura of being outdated, unmaintained, definitely less cool, definitely way more boring than exciting new shiny technology. Whereas the new tools stand for innovation, better integration, maybe better support, better updates, and they give you a competitive edge. That's what we think. And they look good on LinkedIn. If you just spend 5 minutes working on a new technology, you put it on LinkedIn, then recruiters will flood your profile. That's not entirely true, and it can be really annoying, but it can be a mindset of developers. I found this dad joke because I am a fan of dad jokes. What do you do with 100 peaches? You eat what you can, and you can what you can't. It takes a while. Okay, I hear 3 people finding it remotely funny. Okay, that's all right. What I mean with that, why I have this here, this is new tools. You learn new tools, you use maybe some of them, and you store a lot of them away for later, maybe. Misconception and bias. That was also the topic of the keynote today, and this also applies when choosing tools. It all starts with a tutorial dilemma. At least that's what I call it. When you learn a new technology, you start with a tutorial, and those tutorials show you a happy path, a very small problem. They are deliberately kept simple to give you a quick start, but this can lead to false confidence. If you just copy 3 lines of code and it works on your machine, you think, oh, this technology is awesome. It's not that easy. Because what you should do is do a proof of concept. But of course, there's another dilemma, because I'm touching on a lot of dilemmas here. The proof of concept dilemma is that, yes, they're necessary for real evaluation of a tool or framework, but they cost a lot of time and resources, of course. And you will not catch all the issues in a proof of concept. You will get a much better idea in a proof of concept than in just a tutorial that you follow. But there might be still unknowns, and I will touch on unknowns in a later slide. And this actually happened to me. Management might confuse it with a real implementation. I won't disclose the company, but we did a proof of concept, and our manager came and said, oh, that looks cool. When can we release it? Nope, not that easy, because a proof of concept is designed to be thrown away. You might have heard of the sunk cost fallacy. It goes a little bit of this into this direction, because you spend a lot of time and a lot of resources to learn something, and the more time and resources and money you spend, the more you want to use it, because otherwise you might feel like all this is wasted. And this can go against your rational decision because you invested so much into it. This, probably all of you know, Maslow's hammer. I suppose it is tempting if the only tool you have is a hammer to treat everything as if it were a nail. That's what Abraham Maslow said. And this applies to tools as well. I've seen it a lot that people learn a new tool and say, let's use it, it's great, even though it doesn't quite fit the problem we want to solve. The tractor factor, usually called the bus factor, but a colleague of mine calls it the tractor factor, and I want to really establish this in the IT and testing world because I think it sounds better. What I mean with this is, if you are the only one who knows about a new tool and invested all that time and resources, and you start using it and you get run over by a tractor, then suddenly nobody knows how to use it anymore. So you don't want to be the only one with the knowledge. But this comes with a cost again, because either you have to teach other people about this tool so they can take over your role if you get run over by a bus or a tractor, or you stay the only point of contact and risk it, but then you're faced with every question and every query about this tool or framework. This is also not nice. And if you look on the other side, on the team, so from the one presenting the new tool, you look at the team listening to this person, you have the ambiguity effect. That's a well-known psychological effect. We as humans mistrust options we don't know. And we want to avoid uncertainty. So if somebody says, this new tool is awesome, our natural reaction is, we have this tool already? I'm not sure. This is human. But let's talk a little bit more about unknowns. Unknowns are tricky because there are actually two kinds of unknowns, and I will touch on that. Usually what people say is find the tool that fits your problem. And I'm not sure if that is always the right approach, because this comes with a cost as well. How should you know that a specific tool fits this exact problem you have without spending a lot of time on that? The unknowns, you have actually two kinds. You have the known unknowns and you have the unknown unknowns. Please bear with me. I'll try to explain. A known unknown in software could be something like, if we have 10,000 requests per second, I don't know what will happen, or 20,000 or 100,000. You know that at one point something bad will happen, you just don't know the exact numbers. That is something that you know, it's a known unknown. Whereas an unknown unknown can be, I had no idea that turning on this option would cause memory leaks. This is something that you cannot anticipate. And this happens more with new tools. Dan McKinley had a presentation in the similar direction called Choose Boring Technology. And he says both sets, so the unknown sets, the unknown and the known unknowns, are typically non-empty, even for tech that's existed for decades. But for shiny new technology, the magnitude of unknown unknowns is significantly larger. So yes, I agree with finding tools that fit your problem, but it doesn't have to be a new tool. Because old tools can be more reliable, they're definitely more familiar, they can be more compatible, because they have been around for way longer, and they can be more cost-effective because you don't have this overhead of learning and teaching and spending money on educating yourself. The nice thing about boringness is that the capabilities of these things are well understood, but more importantly, their failure modes are well understood. Dan McKinley again. Okay, so let me give you an example. I set myself a little task here, create a website test so I can use it locally and in a GitHub workflow. I start with Selenium. Many of you might disagree, but I really like Selenium. I still do. I see you disagree, that's all right. I asked Copilot, what is Selenium? And it said, Selenium is a free open source automation testing framework used to validate web applications across different browsers and platforms. This is wrong. This is totally wrong. And if you thought this was right, please don't fall for that. I see a lot of misinformation on LinkedIn, comparison of test frameworks, Selenium against Playwright, Selenium against Cypress. No, Selenium is not a test framework. Selenium automates browsers. That's it. It's just a remote control for a browser. This is me on the timeline. That's when I was born, so you can calculate how old I am. And this is when Selenium was born. So it doesn't sound that old, 2004, but it's 20 years already. So I would say it's kind of an old tool. Same year as Spider-Man 2 came out for reference. This is a simple Selenium script. So what we do here is we create a WebDriver, a new Chrome driver, so we want to test in Chrome. Then we go to my website, shameless plug, softwaretester.blog. Then we find the link that says Writing API Tests with Karate, which is my book, another shameless plug. And then we find the header, the second header on the page, and just check if the text is, what is this book about? So for people that say Selenium is complicated, not really. And then we just close the browser. And this is how it looks. We can run it from the IDE, and this is the test. This is not sped up in any way. It's just, if you're wondering, this is a loop. So this is how fast it is. Just a little nudge for people who say Selenium is slow. Let's build on top of that. Let's use Maven. Who uses Maven? Oh, who uses Gradle? Even less. What are the others using? Nothing. Magic. I asked Copilot again. It said, Maven is a software project management and comprehension tool that provides developers a complete build lifecycle framework. It's closer than the Selenium definition, but still not quite right. For reference, me, Selenium, Maven, before Selenium, 2002. So we're stepping forward in our project, but stepping backwards in time. Same year as Spider-Man came out. So we had Spider-Man 2 for Selenium, we have Spider-Man for Maven. Let's see if you can guess what the next one will be. This is Maven. Yes, it's XML. I know XML has been around since 1996, I think. It still works. You can define dependencies in Maven, which is great. You can actually say, okay, my project uses Selenium Java of this version, and I also added JUnit to run them really as unit tests. But this is cool. So you don't have to have any dependencies right in your project. You can just define them here. And then you can just run the tests with Maven clean test. If you know a little bit about Maven, this is the Maven wrapper, the mvnw command, but you can also run Maven directly. But the wrapper just gives you a specific version of Maven on your system, and you don't need to have it installed. I also changed the test a little bit. It might look more complicated, but the only thing I changed is use some JUnit functionality here. So before each, that's where I create the WebDriver. Let's get rid of the clicker. There it is. So that means before each test, a new Chrome browser is used. And after each test, the Chrome browser is closed again. So we have a clean state all the way. And this, the add test annotated method, that's the exact code I had before. So now we can run it via Maven. Maven clean test, and there it is. It's almost as fast as before. It takes a little bit of overhead for Maven to download the dependencies, but it only has to do it once. But this is already better than before and more versatile. I think Maven is pretty great because it's easy dependency management. It reduces duplication. It's standard XML, so it's easy to understand for humans. And it's a straightforward build and test flow. And this is the thing I like most about it. It does less. If you look at Gradle, Gradle can do everything. Maven cannot. This is what I like. I like frameworks and tools that give me a limited set of options. But it might be just me. Let's go even further back in time with Bash. I see some smiles here. Who uses Bash? Well, few. All the Maven users, maybe? Copilot said Bash, an acronym for Born Again Shell, that is true, is a command line interpreter that provides a user interface for various operating systems. Again, it's slightly off, but it's okay for now. Let's look at the timeline again. Anyone knows when Bash was established? 1989. Which movie is it? Batman. Batman, I heard from here. So to demonstrate this a little more, I expanded the test again with a WebDriver selection. So I get a system property that I can pass to the test script, and based on that system property, we can use a Firefox driver, a Chrome driver, or an Edge driver. So we can now just run it in 3 different browsers. By the way, in the new Selenium versions, do download the web drivers for you and the browsers, so you don't even have to do anything there. Yeah, then you can just call it with Maven clean test as before, and you pass the browser equals Firefox with a -d flag, which is a system property, and then you're all set to run it in different browsers. And if you want to run it in Bash, this is the Bash script. So it looks kind of similar. So you see the Maven command on the bottom, but because we pass the browser not as a system property, but on the command line, we can just do the $1 at the end after the browser. So we can pass it directly to the script. And then the Bash script will set it as a system property here. And this is how we can run it. If we call it run test.sh for shell script and add Firefox, it would run the whole thing in Firefox. So let's see. Run test.sh, Firefox. There's Firefox, and there was the test. So again, we added another layer, made it more flexible, went back in time again, but it moved forward in functionality. And I still think Bash is cool, because it's the default shell in most Linux systems, also on macOS. Has a very powerful scripting language, lots of built-in commands, and it uses pipes and redirects, so you can push something to one command, take the output of it, route it to a different command, so you have this chain of things you can do. Very, very flexible. Not too easy to learn, but worth it. And it adheres to the Unix philosophy. Write programs that do one thing and do it well, write programs to work together. This is what I also meant with Maven does less, and I like it. Tools should do less and do it well. Let's move even further back. Last step, make. Who uses make? Nobody uses make. You use make, 1. True, yeah, make is used in C++ to build, but you can use it for different things as well. Make is applicable to any process that involves executing arbitrary commands to transform a source file to a target result. This is correct, but this is also from Wikipedia. Just saying. In the timeline, if you take me for reference, make comes before me, which is pretty wild because I use it pretty much daily, and it's a technology that is 50 years old. I'm not there yet, but still pretty cool to be able to still use that and use that for a good thing. Same year as Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, I didn't find any superhero movie of that time. I'm sorry. This is a simple make script. So make has targets, help and test. that you can call via make help or make test. If you just type make, it will choose the first target that prints out some help. Here is our line of script again. In this case, it is bash because make runs shell scripts on the inside. I hope I'm not losing anyone. But it's essentially the same script we had before. The Maven clean test set the browser as a system property, but now the browser variable that we use comes from make. So we can actually set a default value here. So the question mark equals means, okay, if we don't specify a browser variable, just use Chrome. And this is how we can invoke this. Make test browser equals Firefox. Simple as that. And here I actually show make, it prints the help. If you do make test browser Edge, because we have this WebDriver selection, it runs the test in Edge. And this is something that you can put on Jenkins, that you can put on GitHub workflows, and it will work, because make works on all of them. If you have this combination, make, Maven, JUnit, Selenium, you can just use it everywhere, local systems and build servers. Make, I think, is great because it, again, has a small number of features. It's available everywhere with a little asterisk because it's a little tricky to set it up on Windows, but I wouldn't advise you to use Windows anyway. Again, something to disagree. And it's a good entry point to trace the flow of the application because you have those targets, you can follow them, you can have dependencies on other targets, so you can easily follow what's happening. And it's a well-defined proxy for underlying technologies. That's what I mean with this is with a make test, you can invoke everything. In this case, I invoke a JUnit test, but you can also invoke JavaScript tests or Python tests, it doesn't matter. But for the user who invokes those tests, it always looks the same. And we actually use it that way. So what about AI? Yeah, it's a very, very realistic bunny here that AI generated for me. Only AI generated slide apart from the technology overview. My favorite quote about AI from Joanna Maciejewska. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so I can do art and writing, not for AI to do my art and writing so that I can do my laundry and dishes. And this just resonated with me so much. This is exactly what I want AI to do. Yeah, I tested quite some AI tools, like those listed here, and I use them daily, especially GitHub Copilot and Microsoft Copilot I use on a daily basis. But again, there is a dilemma, of course, because it helps you a lot with things you already know. If you want to use it for learning purposes, you have to be really, really careful because it does hallucinate more than we think. And like we heard today, those hallucinated answers sound really plausible and real. Because those AI models, they refuse to say, I don't know, because they want to help you at any cost. So they will just make something up to please you. But if you treat it like an extended rubber duck, like you tell it your problem you're currently having, then it gives you some feedback, you give it some feedback based on this, and you have this kind of conversation. This works fine. This works really well to solve some problems. And yeah, as you might have seen in the media, it does behave like humans. You can bribe it. You can tell it to take a deep breath before answering. That is supposed to make their answer better. You can say, I give you $1,000 if you answer me, or my life depends on it. Then the answer will get better. It's really wild. By the way, this picture here, we tried in the whole team to generate a picture of men without beards and bearded women. Don't ask why. We just wanted to test it. We always got bearded men only. That was it. Just if you know a prompt that does this, please let me know. But what I wanted to get at is that AI knows a lot of stuff about old tools, and way more than new tools. Because there is a certain time range of things that it is trained on, and of course there's more information about old tools. Many questions have already been answered. You have the whole Stack Overflow history and everything. And many use cases have already been covered, probably yours as well. And there is, just because of that, less chance of hallucination. So this is a perfect combination using older tools and newer AI assistants. 3 final thoughts I just wanted to leave you with. Be aware about biases. Be aware about biases when communicating with people, choosing tools, working with AI. This is really important. Choose tools very carefully. Next time you choose a tool, of course, choose a new tool. It's none of my business, but maybe you can consider some of those points I mentioned to make a more informed decision. And don't let familiarity hold you back. If you know something really well, it's no reason to not use it. And you should definitely decouple this mindset of progress is related to shiny new tools. Progress should be decoupled from technology. Progress should be seen as, I solved this problem in a good way. And it doesn't really matter what you used. And with this, thanks a lot for listening. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Looks like we have questions. I'll make sure the microphones are switched on. And there you go. It was right here.
Hi, thank you so much for this refreshing presentation when we finally can talk about Maven and things of that sort. Also, not a question, but more additional point to your arguments that old tools also usually have community behind them. So for learnings or for questions, there is always forums, Reddits, and whatnot to turn to, and that really distinguishes sometimes the choice when you're making a new company or new projects, things of that sort. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I am very close to the Selenium community and also the Cucumber community, yet another topic that we can disagree on. But it's true. The communities have built over the years. It's not something new that just came out and some people are using it and communicating about it. It had time to evolve over the years. And the founders of Selenium, for example, they still communicate with everyone. I mean, they're just approachable. And I found this really cool because you can just go there and ask a question and you get an answer from a human that actually made this thing.
Okay, any more questions? Over there. Let's see who's faster. Oh, these young guys.
Also, thank you for the presentation. I get why you refer to the old tools, because I also had that nostalgic feeling, and I also love Selenium. But wouldn't it be easier to just refer, like in this case, in this website example you gave, like Playwright, because you explained 4 tools to do one thing, and with Playwright you can do all those things and explain just one tool.
I'm not sure I fully got that.
Yeah, you use the time now to refer to tools, and I get it from a nostalgic point of view.
Yeah.
But if you want to do that, just use, like, for example, Playwright, and it can do all those things those four tools can do.
It's true. And I'm not saying that new tools cannot be better than old tools. I'm just saying maybe you should consider, if you are under time pressure and budget pressure and those things, that it might not always be the smartest choice to go for the new tools that you have to start learning first and investing time and resources. I totally agree. I think in terms of Playwright, I really like Playwright. I used it before. I still come back to Selenium time and time again, maybe because I know it way better by heart. So yeah, it's always a tough choice, especially when you have younger colleagues that jump on those tools, and then there might be a healthy discussion around those. And frankly, I'm always saying, if you have something that works better for this case, then of course we should replace what we have and use that. But we have to think about that first, what kind of involvement we need and resources. So yeah, I do agree and disagree at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you. That will we'll now cut off the questions. And the saying goes, a fool with a tool is still a fool. Yeah?
That's
Thank
true.
you very much for your nice presentation and
Thank you.
something to help with the tooling, right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin.